Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're joined by someone who truly embodies versatility and creativity, Ravin Jankhi, also known as the Storyteller MC. He's a comedian, a corporate MC, and a sports anchor who moves effortlessly between stages, audiences, and roles. In this live chat, we'll dive into his journey, the art of storytelling, and how he's built such a dynamic and multi-layered career from comedy to corporate hosting to sports commentary. RJ brings a unique energy wherever he goes, and today he's here to share the stories behind it all. How are you?
Siddharth, I'm well, man. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. It's fantastic. I want to say hi to all your viewers and for those who have logged in as well. It's such a privilege and pleasure to be speaking to you today. And so I thank you for the opportunity as well.
Ah, thanks, man. It's also my honor to have you, and I'm happy that you're finally here. So my opening question to you is, you've mastered multiple lanes, comedy, corporate MC work, and sports commentary. How did your journey begin, and which role came first for you?
Siddharth, just to fill you in, the most amazing thing is it wasn't even one of those three roles that came through to me first,
Oh,
just to give you an outset. So there was a time when we traveled to the University of KwaZulu-Natal, formerly known as Durban Westville, based in Reservoir Hills. And the most amazing thing is when I entered that university, my first year of study was a Bachelor of Commerce degree, but I felt it wasn't right for me. So what I did was I switched to Baccalaureus Artium Communicano. And then I went to a station called Oddwax. It was a radio station based on campus. It was started by two, coincidentally, one of them happened to be my teacher as well, Mr. Omer Asek, who was my speech and drama teacher at school, and the other being a later, of course, producer at Lotus FM, Mr. Khalik Sherif. So they were the masterminds behind Oddwax. And I thought, let me just try and get onto that radio station. Do you become a journeyman? There were, of course, no slots available
mhm.
because there were some great guys like Kick-Ass Kenny Maestri was there, the late Neville Pillay. There were lots of people who were studying, but also on there as well. And so I decided, let me just handle a bit of news, bit of reporting, and then I slid into my first play, which was called Side by Side Masizizane. It was a brilliant play. It was about apartheid, about a station that was the first stop from a train, and you had to like basically, uh, transition from train stop to train stop, get off at the station, and enact a play. 30 of us on that train station, and everywhere we got off, it was quite amazing because the first was where the old white police would beat us up. The second station was about poverty in a black township. Third was the cultural differences in Indianism. The fourth was living in a white home, then poverty. And as each one, it was quite funny. It was sets that were drawn. And then I realized we could switch roles. It was so amazing. And I thought, no, why not take that to a stage where I could, embrace it with the microphone? And so I started doing lots of announcements, sports and productions. By the way, I used to be a footballer and runner, so it was easy for me to comment on sports and to bring it in because the passion and energy behind it, Siddharth, was quite instrumental and phenomenal. And so I was given the reins of handling many road races, KwaZulu-Natal athletics. There was a lady by the name of Joyce. She gave me that opportunity. I should stand on the side of roads, and DJs used to have the sound systems. And finally, they moved me to the start and to the finish, which is the upper echelons. I recognized runners, the different continuity of their outfits and how they ran. But the most important thing is then I was given the big reign of the Spa KZN women's race. That's more than 20,000 runners. I was given the total sports ladies race. That's more than 25,000 runners. And then finally the Comrades Marathon. And I don't have to tell you about how big that race is, no? So I used to announce at the beginning, somewhere in the center, Anchorage, and it continued until I moved between stadiums. Um, but besides being sports, I was quite a funny guy. I used to tell lots of jokes and quips and pick on people, not insulting. And so I thought, let me try my hand at doing weddings and corporate
Mhm.
events. And so in the beginning, we worked for a plate of biryani. No payment was involved. And I think from there, Siddharth, just stepped. As I got into stage, it was natural. I cured my bad habits. I learned some original content. I wrote, and I went on. I performed in a few comedy shows under the banner of Mervyn Pillay, Caro Charo, Mandrax Munyama, and the Suitcase Carriers. I performed in the first early editions of At the Edge. your own dog won't bite you, dablu bablu. So those were things. But I found my passion for radio was a little bit better than that because it meant that you had to be more corporate, speak better. And then I quickly transitioned into the weddings. I created a company called The Wedding Story. And because I'm a student of English, became known as the Storyteller MC because of the superlative
Okay.
commentary, reading the room, bringing in all of that. So in a nutshell, that's how we started off. It was difficult. It was hard. There was hardly any earning. We had to, go to street light poles to tap our own banners to invite people to come and watch the plays. I remember Iksan Khan, and he used to like mentor us. I should take a karaoke mic and sing in the back. But so that, long story short, that is how it led to where I was. Once I left university, I didn't pursue any business field or didn't go into a corporate world, but rather stuck to the events and the functions while I worked sidelines, to get some of the hustle going. And now it's looking a bit more easier because there is popularity out there. People want you, excuse the egoism, we're MCs of notes. We've traveled, we've been around, so that is my journey for you in a nutshell.
Wow. What's the biggest difference in mindset when you switch from being a comedian to a corporate MC or sports anchor? Do you prepare differently for each role?
I'm glad you asked that question because you have to have tact and you have to have guile when you are handling different rooms. A sports arena is not about entertainment; it's all about results. You need to be very impactful, factual. You need to do your research. You need to know what the event is all about. Per se, if we were announcing at like when I was at the 2010 FIFA World Cup, 9 games, you had to announce at avenues and arenas where you had to know what was on the scripts. Some of it is governed, some is given through to you. So those are crisp, quick announcements,
Mm.
informative, and also very importantly to carry the message forth. I'm sure when you watch football matches and rugby, you hear just a little bit of announcements coming through, unless it's a commentary on the road where you are trying to inspire and steer runners. There, you can use your own words and build it up. When it comes to comedy, obviously, you must be original, you must be diverse, you have to be very, very aware of the economy and the culture we live in, not to be racist and stereotype. People don't want to hear things that are too Indian or picking and attacking other races. So those comedy festivals I performed in was a bit more adult because we are stepping up. But the content that I use at weddings, events, birthdays, parties, and so forth is a bit more family friendly, and people enjoy it. They laugh. We try not to insult people. I know lots of MCs base their presentations on interactions and games. I'm more an original commentator, a storyteller. My comedy is handwritten, not internet, excuse me, based. And then lastly, corporate work. Corporate work is very important. Like recently, I did the launch for a uh, a wonderful compound that fills your bone as a crack filler, and I was flown to the capital mainland out in Pretoria, where we addressed all the orthopedic surgeons, 42 in the room. Certainly, you need to know their crafts, their professionalism, and not undermine, because remember, these are articulate, intelligent, and well-schooled people. So you have to speak to them in that capacity, understand what they are doing and their delivery. Try not to linger too much, like I'm speaking in this conversation, a bit more words than necessary, but there to allow them. And then the witty anecdotes and a few innuendos in between must be absolutely apt, and where we're not deciphering in that room that this is stand-up comedy, but rather it's humorous content. So there's the difference, I think, in a nutshell for you.
You're known as a storyteller MC. What does storytelling mean to you, and how do you incorporate it into all the different spaces you work in?
So that to answer your question in a nutshell as well,
Mhm.
being a student of English, there was a time when we grew up, we were denied the privilege and pleasures of a television because we lived in a farm where there was, difficult times. And the only other way you could craft and imagine the world and to travel without having to leave your room was to delve into a novel, a book, a novella, or even magazines, even comics for that matter. So speaking well, pronunciation and trying to remember everything meant that you developed a good memory. Lots of people
Mm.
ask me, how do I have such a good memory? Because when I present events, I've just got an iPad and there's no document. The idea here is to actually remember and understand what you're saying.
Hmm.
Storytelling where is, there was a young lady who once said, the way you coin your phrases, aptly explain the room and the proceedings, narrate events and or rituals, and for that matter, use the most perfect words. You are a storyteller, and I think you should keep that word. And that's how I created the word, the Storyteller MC, and the company, the Wedding Story SA. It's quite niche. It marries the both, excuse the pun, together. Yeah, so when I do my entrances, it's very cinematic, poetic. There's a mixture of various languages, using nice words, to, if it's a Hindi wedding, you have to use that language. If it's Tamil as well, Gujaratis, if you're speaking in functions where it's neutral and or Christian or Islamic based, you need to know the language and or the understanding, and that can come only from hard work. So being the storyteller was quite an important thing, and incorporating it to the different spaces. It's so nice because I can just use the words and the language to bring it through to the different various factors. So I thank you for that question. I hope that's the appropriate answer.
No, no, that's awesome, man. In comedy, timing is everything. In sports commentary, energy is key. In corporate hosting, professionalism leads. How do you strike the right balance between these different expectations?
Yeah, energy is key. You have to have lots of homework and research done there.
Mhm.
Being a natural, I'm a Gemini, two personalities. One part you find me
Ah,
smiling and happy, the other part very, coordinative and methodical. So that we must be able to throw in a joke, feel comfortable, listen to people. We have two ears, one tongue. We should listen twice as much as we speak. But in order for us
mhm.
to speak, um, for example, this past weekend, I did 5 different types of events starting off on Friday. So on Friday, I was doing announcements and draws at a casino where we were presenting cars and cash. So there you had to remarkably, speak to a room where people are spending a lot of money, and they wanted something in return. Saturday morning, I'm at a memorial where I'm speaking, telling people the process between life and death and how it is like to reconnect. And, God said, pray to that which is seen before me, I'm unseen, to make them feel, loved with the person and share all those physical memories. Towards the evening, I'm sitting in a Vedic wedding where I'm explaining the narratives and then bringing in some tasteful humor. And on Sunday as well, 2 different types of weddings. And then towards the evening, there was a celebration at a spiritual arena where we had to inspire and motivate people. So wearing different hats for different occasions means that you have to swap quickly, understand, read the room, and learn also that each function is different to the other, and everyone's unique. Once you do that, I'll tell you a tip as well. I normally send a profile document to each of the clients, and they fill it with their whims, woes, likes, dislikes, and what their unique traits are. And I use that as a template to bring it together. So if Siddharth, tomorrow, if I'm delivering something on your regard, I will learn what your favorite food, your hobbies, your travel, recognition, what your dislikes are, creative words, and use that as a template, to bring forth that event. So it's something that's factual, but it's also amazing, and that's how I transition between roles. It's quite
Ah,
easy for me. It was difficult in the beginning, but I see now it's become quite easy as well.
yeah. What has been your most memorable moment on stage, whether funny, un unexpected, or completely chaotic?
So I'll tell you 3. One was the meeting of our late president, Mr. Nelson Mandela, where I was presenting a wonderful event, a rally. It was in the Phoenix region at the Royal Vale, and there were thousands of people. We couldn't imagine what the total was. It must have been close to about 40, 50,000. And the most memorable was presenting him, Madiba on stage, giving him a hug and speaking. And I'm talking like this was about 16, 17 years ago when he was quite, young and he was quite
Oh, sorry, Ravin, you were mentioning about Nelson Mandela's one of the memorable moments there. Oh, sorry, you were mentioning one of your memorable moments there.
sorry, yeah, so that was the meeting of the late great Mr. Nelson Mandela, where I introduced him on stage. That was absolutely memorable. He was quite a funny person. Unexpected was, I think one day when I was presenting a show where people cross-dress, they wear all of those Nagara outfits and everything. And then all of a sudden they introduced me and they grabbed me to dance. And I was impersonating those dancers and continuing with them and doing those lovely moves and everything, not realizing it was a recorded DVD for sale, and purchase later. And I traveled to
Mhm.
Johannesburg where a lady told me, "Hi, you look famous. I've seen you somewhere." And I've said, "Have you possibly seen me on television, SABC or Saffron?" No, no, it wasn't that. Have you possibly seen me at an event? Or no, no, it wasn't that. Wait, I'll think. And 10 minutes later, said, "Can you join us in the parking lot?" And they had this Ford Ranger where they had a DVD player, with a screen on it. And I go there and I said, "This is where I know you from. You're quite a famous dancer." And I see on the DVD, they've got the recording of me doing a Nagara dance with all the Nagara dancers. That was quite funny. And the most chaotic was at a wedding where I was presenting. As I was stepping on stage, it was a Hindi wedding, and I think the priest or the assistant had dropped some clarified butter, which is called ghee, on stage. And I slipped and I went all on all fours, and the entire auditorium, 500 people, went ooh at the same time. So that was a quite chaotic. But otherwise, those are the three things I think you should know about.
All right. All right. There's a comment question for you here already. This is from Resh Jithan. Hi, Ravin. Thank you for entertaining us. How do you cope with being in the public eye and being a family man? Your memorable moments on stage. Okay, fine. We have covered that, but you can cover at least the first part.
So when I first married my wife, she
Huh?
didn't want to marry me. She thought being a
Oh.
DJ on Lotus meant that we all drank and we danced and we sang. But I don't consume alcohol, neither do I. Go to the cesspool of alcoholism and drug. That's why I'm able to motivate and inspire people.
Mm,
But I had to prove to her that, there's two types of life. One is a quiet family life where we could raise our daughter. She just completed matric. And one is to take care of her lovingly, but still be an entertainer. And I'm drawing to the other part where, as a Gemini, I can switch personalities. So, yes, you have to be a family person, take care of them, be responsible. My wife has joined me at events where she also coordinates, so she's in part of the business. That's a good news. But when she first met me, I used to be a radio jock on Lotus, between 3 to 6 in the morning. And it was quite hard. And I had to work during the day at Sportsman's Warehouse, selling nutrition, running shoes, and then continuing studies. And then in the evening doing events. So I thank her for being a part of it. My late mom was also part of that journey. And my daughter came recently in, and she also speaks a while. So to answer the viewer's question there, it is difficult. We never had weekends, especially travel, but at least I have a lot of weekdays, to transport my daughter to school, for them to go out to feel social activities and so forth. It is difficult, but you have to balance it carefully as well.
all right. Your ability to connect with audiences is incredible. What's your secret to reading the room and adjusting your delivery on the spot?
Years ago, there was a lady who formerly was from the United Kingdom, and she ran a clinic called the Voice Clinic. Now it's become
Wow.
quite a consortium. So I decided one day, let me knock on their door and enter. And I think I must have knocked on the door over 6 to 7 times. And she refused me permission to enter because the way I knocked on their door was not accommodating to a person on the other side. She taught me how to, knock on the door, to be impressionable, and to be reasonable and to have decorum in class. So I learned that. She taught me some microphone technique, speaking skills, how to pronounce, and not to accentuate too much. You must be
Mm,
neutral. So that was part of that, and I thank her for it, um, for teaching us that. And I was a diplomat of the Voice Clinic, besides studying and so forth. So that is carried forward to some of the mannerism on how to connect with the room. Looking at people in the eye, turning left to right, not shifting too much on stage, focusing. I do not get stuck behind the podium too much, and also clearly being in the microphone, doing a sound check well in advance. These are the ways that you can adjust to that room. But also in the same vein, adjusting to the room means you need to read. Like at the beginning, when I started the event, I tell all the guests, please turn to your neighbors, the one sitting on your left, the one on your right, and tell them you look fabulous. And they do that, and then they start smiling. Shake hands with the person, even if it's your Uber driver or it's your wife or your granny. Place your hands on their shoulder and give them a massage. So I start off with that note, and then the room warms up to me. So it's quite an amazing way to start off, and that's one of my signatures as well.
Many creators struggle with versatility. What advice would you give someone trying to navigate multiple career paths like you do?
The idea is like when you are stewing, something in your kitchen, you have to put various ingredients in there and figure out
Hmm?
what the best taste would be. Sometimes it doesn't, it's a bit bitter, it's too sweet, it's too spicy,
Mm.
it's not palatable. Similarly, performing on stage, appealing to masses, speaking to audiences, trying to hone your skills means that you have to possibly try. I think Gary Player said it, the more you practice, the more luckier you get.
Yeah.
Nobody is perfect. You need to fail in order for you to pass. So to get forward in life, you have to try various things and see where your skill, where your talent, and which part of that entire scenario belongs to you. The best advice you can give someone who's trying to navigate multiple career paths is one is your earning, because remember, as creatives, you do not earn well. A painter will battle to sell his paintings not because he hasn't done well, but he needs to find the right person to connect and purchase that. Similarly, marketing yourself. Some people have a lot of followers on social media, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, but that they cannot, in public or behind a microphone, speak to people. So it's important to learn those skills first before you actually, and then back yourself up. So my advice to everyone out there is to seek to jump off your cliffs and just build your wings on the way down. Once you build your wings, you will learn to fly.
Quick reactions. Which sport do you enjoy covering the most and why?
Can you please repeat that question? I did not hear you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Sports commentary requires deep knowledge and quick reactions. Which sport do you enjoy covering the most and why?
So I was quite an adept football player, having played in one of the biggest leagues in the country, which was under SAFA, which was the Phoenix and Association District Football Association, and I used to announce a lot of the football. So that was my first passion hobby. I can't tell you I'm an Arsenal Gunners fan, but I'm also a football pundit where I can. Unfortunately, we weren't given the opportunity to go into that. Market because it's reserved for certain types people who possibly have played the game at professional levels. So I've mostly done the road races and I've taken part and participated. And I know every club, whether it's Hillcrest Villages, Durban Athletic, whether it's someone from GP, I know runners and so forth. So that's the main thing. But I'm capable of also doing the rugby as well because very few Indians are in that fraternity. It's mostly reserved for more white and mixed race sports. But as a watchable person, we learned the sport because we. I remember a long time ago, someone told me, "Hi, Ravin, you look a bit small built and everything. You think you will make it in sport?" So it was a bit of a bet, and that's how I ran the comrades. And more than that, now I commentate about it as well. So those are, I think, my greatest, passions. And I think between those three sports, I can transition quite easily. But I do know everything else from your triathletes to cycling to swimming to tennis and golf as well. But the main thing is the road running and the football rugby.
So you wouldn't be able to choose the one main sport that you like out of those three.
I think it'll be athletics as well. It'll be
Oh,
athletics
okay.
and road running, yes.
Okay, all right. Looking back, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in building such a diverse career, and how did you overcome it?
Siddharth, we grew up very, very poor. We lived in a area called Inanda. And in
Okay.
1985, the riots took place where our homes were torched and we had to sleep in a school hall for 4 days. And I,
Oh,
coincidentally, mind you, with my family, stepped on the corner of the stage, which explains where I am at the moment. Thereafter, the government, under the old PW Botha regime, then moved us to a school in Vietnam where we slept in a quarter of the classroom divided by army stretchers, which was taken over by the South African National Defence Force. Um, and we stayed there for 6 months until we found ourselves a one-bedroom flat and slowly a home, and we, continued to persevere in life. That was a great challenge, being without income, doing part-time work. I've tried to sell flowers and ice cream and newspapers and trying to pay for your studies. Thank God when we reached the final parts of our academic years, I was beginning to win bursaries. It helped. My dad came from an Afrikaans teacher to be a farmer. My mom, who was a housewife, became a machinist. It was very hard with income, you know.
Mhm.
As we grew our career, you know, I decided to fine tune it. So that was, I think, our greatest challenge coming out of that. And in the beginning, trying to earn income as opposed to, you know, pursuing your passion. But we look back at that and we understand, you know, some things have been done for a reason. And this is where I am now. Now we're able to inspire, motivate. You know, I founded a humanity group called the Hunger Story in Humanity, where we feed, take care of people, we do feminine hygiene. So we give not because we have, but we give because at one stage we did not have. So that is, I think, the main thing, you know. But when we look back, we laugh at those things, you know. It was quite amazing. You know, the farm life was different to the urban yuppie life now. But I'm so proud of where we are now, and I'm hoping other people can use this as a platform to achieve what they can. You know, everyone has their own story, their own talent. They just need to curate it and make it remarkable. Even yourself, you know, I'm sure behind you you have something remarkable that just need to be tapped and brought to the world. People need to understand and give you that opportunity. And when opportunity comes, you need to just strike. You know.
Okay, my final question to you is what's next for Ravin Jankhi? Are there new projects, goals, or roles you're excited to explore in the coming year?
All right, not much of the year left. I think most of the things we have achieved and so forth. You know, I would have loved to be an anchor on television, but the auditions, you know, didn't remarkably go well. But I'm looking at bigger projects next year where I need to promote other artists, create a forum, a guild for fellow MCs and or creatives, so they all are in one forum and they can discuss not only the challenges but also how we can go forth and you know be original. The greatest challenge was when COVID came over 2 years and none of the creatives had a platform or a guild or a club where they could all you know rally around and try and soldier forward. So it's important for that. So my first role next year is to create a guild where fellow creatives can all belong to this, you know, from DJs to radio hosts to MCs, entertainers, stand-up performers, and also to travel the world now. I know I was accepted many years ago to the Las Vegas Comedy Festival to Lister, but because of the lack of income, we were not able to perform wholeheartedly. So I want to revisit that, you know, and make sure it comes right. I've cut down on comedy because of the promotional aspect. I think I'm going to go back to that a little bit more next year. So I think those will be the main things in there. You know, I've curated lots of employment, referred lots of other MCs and stand-up comedians. So I want them all now to be in the same guild, and we can you know share our stories and you know mentor the emerging ones and make sure that they also have a place because there's enough space for everyone to perform and to continue their good work as well. You know. I tell this to my wife and she laughs because sometimes I oversleep. But I always say, if you want your dreams to come true, you cannot oversleep.
Wow. All right. All I got to say that thanks so much for your time and hope to catch up with you soon in the future.
Siddharth, it's only a pleasure. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in your pursuits and your endeavors. I know that when we reach for the stars and we do not, falling on the moon is some way. So the cosmos, the galaxy has echoed all of us. And this is a bright and wonderful universe. And I look forward to meeting with you and interacting with all your viewers and people in the future. And yeah, the wedding story continues. And I'm so glad you spoke to me and we'll continue these stories. And you must just keep smiling, my friend.
Thanks, man.
It's a pleasure. You have a good day, sir.